Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Noonchi podcast. So excited to have special guests with me. This is a special feature because what we're going to be talking about is just something I've been following and super important to me. And I want to know more as a therapist and as a person and clinician completely absorbed with K-culture, specifically K-pop and K-drama. So I'm bringing on here Seoul, Korea-based journalist Haley Young, who I've got to meet this summer, which was awesome. And I really want to talk about what we're hearing with omegax. Now, we all know about the story, but I'll have Haley talk a little bit more because she was at the press conference. But why I'm just going to share with you guys. Yes, it's not necessarily the K-drama world, but it's still K-pop, and we all love that. The whole industry, seeing what's going on, has bothered me, to be honest. So I want to know from you, journalist Haley, what was it like being at the press conference? Let's just talk about that event because they really shared a lot and revealed a lot, and it was emotional. So I want to hear what was that like for you as a journalist being there?
Right. So, well, this obviously, for those who don't know the background of this all started in October when this random Twitter video got posted by a fan of Omega X. And this is a pretty new boy band that debuted in the summer of 2021, right? Less than just over 1 year. And the special thing about them there is that this is all of the members' second debut or even more. So basically, they've had been pursuing K-pop dreams in the past. Something didn't work out in their former groups, and this was their second or third challenge, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
And this was a big part of their identity, of course. And this October, a fan of Omega X was in Los Angeles, and she happened to come across a woman yelling at and striking, 11 grown men basically surrounded by them, but she was the one being like acting abusive, right? Allegedly, according to the alleged footage, right?
Wow.
And basically, this was the last day of their Omega X's Los Angeles concert. They were having a tour of North America. So apparently, a dispute broke out during like 회식, right? A dinner to wrap up this tour that they've been doing. But because of the power dynamics, obviously, I don't think the members in the video seem to be the ones like being like an equal part of the dispute. It was what it seems like from the footage that claims to be the encounter
Yeah.
is that the this lady was acting quite verbally and physically aggressive towards members. And it turned out to be the CEO's wife of that agency, not the CEO herself. The CEO is a guy, and allegedly the two have both been abusing Omega X members for about a year, according to what the members came out with since. So after this whole viral Twitter footage started circulating, the agency did issue a press release about something disgraceful happened, but didn't really address the alleged violence itself.
Yeah. I'm
Mhm.
getting a little emotional as you're talking because I think it must
Right.
be.
Honestly, I kind of got I get really I really felt their pain at the press conference, but at this point I was just like, this is horrible and what's gonna happen. I honestly there was also a possibility that this would just get swept under the rug, right? Because of the nature of these relatively closed industries.
Sure.
And after that, when I was wondering what would happen next, because I'm always waiting for their comeback. I'm a fan of Omega's music. And then we got usually we get press releases from the agency or the agency's PR firm's email.
Hmm.
And this time the email was titled Omega X's press conference coming up, but it was actually from a lawyer, not any entertainment firm. So I was like, what's up? And the interview place was the Seoul Bar Association's Human Rights Room.
Wow. So
Mhm.
already you were like, interesting.
Some
Something's
bombshell
up.
is coming up. This is not about, we're gonna do our best from now on. I'm sorry. This was not like an apology. Something was coming up, right? And the day of the conference comes on November 16th at the basically this building for lawyers in Gangnam. And all of the members were attending with two of their legal counsel that they came together to hire after coming back from that alleged incident in Los Angeles, which they paid to come back to Korea with their own money.
I mean, I think I
That's
heard all
that's
that.
what the
So,
members were saying. They're basically saying they were abandoned after this encounter, right? And their parents had to help them out of this foreign country to them.
oh my
And
God.
well, the first thing they were talking about in the beginning, a lot of them had already been revealed based on their allegations that these physical verbal encounters happened. They've been going on for a while. And I'm actually proud to say that I was the one who actually kind of I wanted to hear more about what they've been through in other agencies, right? Because this was their second or third debut.
Mhm.
I didn't have a lot of expectations, and maybe that's why a lot of reporters didn't ask that from the get-go, which to
Mm.
me was kind of like the number one question I had in mind. Like this was not their first time in the K-pop scene, right?
Mhm. Good for you. So you asked that question.
Right. I thought they might be vague about it, and at first I could feel that hesitation. And like two, three of the members started just breaking down in tears and saying, I was beaten up at my old agency. I saw my colleagues getting physically, beaten up according to their allegations. And honestly, at this point, I actually got choked up, which
Mhm.
might be unprofessional as a reporter, but I just have that empathy,
Sure.
right?
Well, you're
I mean,
also
and
human,
honestly,
so
I'm
that's
also
gonna
human. And
happen.
also in your life, when do you see 11 grown men crying in a room
Yeah.
over
Especially
something?
a
It
press
was so
conference.
surreal. It was horrible, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. And obviously, at this point, everything is legally their allegations. But I think, honestly, based on the thing that they've risked to make these allegations against their current disputed agency and their former groups agencies, I think it says so much about. I think it still indicates a lot that's happening behind the scenes in K-pop, regardless of how legally these are proven to be like true or not,
Hmm.
because I've been talking to their attorney for a
Mm.
while afterward, and he's just saying this happens so common. This
Yeah.
happens so commonly,
I
and I'm
mean,
assuming,
that's always
especially,
been
yeah,
that's always been my understanding, but
mm,
almost like the hopefulness of maybe it's not always
maybe not in
happening,
2022. Their opening
maybe.
statement was something unbelievable happened in 2022. That was their opening statement of the conference.
Wow. Yes, I
Yeah.
got emotional. Obviously, I have my nose is like,
And you know what also made me really emotional? They said, we're not talking just to celebrities. The reason we're speaking up is that, just labor in general. There might be some people in every part of society that can't speak up against their superiors for whatever situation.
hmm.
And they wanted to speak out against that. I think that was just incredibly
Yeah,
brave of them to make
yeah,
those
very brave.
allegations.
Because they're young. They're so young.
Also, the reason these are shocking is because I don't think any of them have announced legal action against their old agencies yet. Obviously, the alleged abuses would have been years ago, right, when they were in their former groups. But the fact is that they've already officially debuted, like most of them. So
Mhm.
their former groups and their agencies are public knowledge, right?
Yeah,
So now, when these members broke down in tears saying this also happened in their old agencies, fans just lost it. They were like, this ain't entertainment too, because they already know, right?
yeah.
So that was such a bold
Mhm.
statement to make,
Yeah,
right?
very brave of
After the
them.
initial hesitation.
So pause there, and now they reveal all this, and you being in that room with other journalists, did you
Hmm.
get any other sense of your reaction being similar to what like were other people reacting? So maybe not with tears, but did you sense
Hmm.
empathy in the room as folks are
I
reading?
sensed sighs. I just sensed maybe I don't think like a lot of the reporters who cover K-pop, they don't necessarily feel personally attached to K-pop, right? Some of them are just there because it's their job, so they might not be like super personally emotional like some of us are, but
Mhm.
these are just young people. Like if they're young journalists, it's around the same age. We're exactly around the same age. And if
Yeah,
it's older reporters, it's like their sons or like nephews, right? And I think
sure.
there was just sigh in the room when something came up. Like I could feel that pain in the air.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Mm.
I guess I was hopeful to, like, I'm not saying that I wanted you to tell me people were crying in the room, but I did want to hear that there's some empathy as they're
Yeah.
hearing this from some the up and coming young leaders representing K-pop and going through that. So
Mm.
with that, what's next, or what's been what you're hearing, and how was that the aftermath? Did you get to speak to them? What does it look like now for omegax?
So basically right now, they they're with they're in a dispute with their agency. So they've also basically kind of not their PR firm's also kind of not functioning at this point, at least as of now, because of this legal dispute. So I've been kind of going after their attorney for a chance to speak more, but they couldn't really respond to all of the requests from the media outlets. Also, they have to be more careful now that they're actually filing a lawsuit and pressing criminal charges, by the way, not just compensation. They really want strict, serious punishment
Yeah, they
for these
wanted
alleged
justice. Yeah.
allegations. Right. And after that, the New York Times has actually been following the story. Mhm.
Okay.
And this time they actually went more through staff behind the scenes and the CEO's wife herself, who was in these footages,
Mm-hmm.
right? She's largely almost completely denying every allegation that's been made. So, well, that's
Mm-hmm.
her stance. I guess we'll see in the upcoming lawsuit, or if there's trials. The trials might be public, but I don't know how that's gonna go. Some celebrity trials have been public, right? And that article obviously just shed light on the dark side of the culture
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
And also their attorney told me a lot of what happens behind the scenes. These stars are just so desperate for a debut or stardom. They think if I just stay quiet, like if I just um take the physical or verbal violence, is maybe our entire team is gonna make it, right?
Yeah.
Hmm. And then I've been looking up that there's been so many and so much more serious. I mean, I don't know the extent of their allegations. Omegax is going to continue making probably, but
Mm-hmm.
there's been convicted cases of like debuted idols, like not even trainees, idols who were like already active, getting hit by a chair and make getting sent to the emergency room,
Are you
getting
serious?
strangled with a guitar string by their agency CEO. And this was actually the CEO was sent to jail. So this is actually verified. And
What
like
can you tell me more about? I mean,
who strangles your employee with a guitar string? Why is that a weapon
and
in
this
your mind?
person's in
Like,
jail. The CEO's on. I don't know this story.
mhm. So you guys might know the old time K-pop acts BAP and Secret.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
I feel like
I
I
think
it
a lot
rings a
of
bell for me.
right. If you're like a vintage K-pop lover, you would
I feel like
know
I'm
those
a
names.
vintage, but
Yeah,
BAP, I
I
mean,
mean,
like I said,
about
this
10 years ago.
but oh, okay. So the CEO of this K-pop group, you're saying, went to
Hmm.
jail.
Ye- yeah, basically. And that agency is kind of a mess. Like every single artist they've managed, like they all sued the agency. This is like there has to be a joke at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in the other allegations, well, verified allegations in this case, that like afterwards that I looked up, was boy band TRCNG from that agency that produced
Mhm.
BAP and Secret. In
Mhm.
2019 they sued the agency for child abuse, which is fitting
Oh,
because a lot of these trainees are children at the point of the
yes.
abuse, right?
Oh
Which
my
is
God.
what a disturbing detail that we forget, right? If these
Yeah,
trainees
they're
or
very
idols
young.
are
I
abused,
know I keep saying
yeah,
that because I'm older, but they are young.
right.
Yeah. Oh my
We
goodness.
kind of tend to think of like maybe employees in their 20s, like after college, get meeting like an abusive boss, but these are like teenagers,
Yes.
right? So they've been frequently beaten and hit with a chair, resulting in a trip to the emergency
My
room, strangled with a guitar string that was, for
and
some
this
reason, an option
agency
as a
is
weapon.
still working, a working
No,
agency.
it shut down,
Okay.
right?
All right, thank you for that. Yeah, because I can't keep up with everything, but that's
Hmm.
horrific to me.
Yeah. So
You're
this was
talking
like
to me,
sent to, yeah, yeah.
yeah, as just a trauma specialist and everything, and I'm sitting there
Yeah, it's
going,
just this is just second-hand trauma, especially to the fans, I'm thinking. So this
well,
lawsuit, the chair thing is, it was sent to the prosecutor's office in favor of pressing charges. It's ongoing,
yeah, okay.
and the one that actually sent two people to jail was from boy band Eastlight, which was in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually came up with very graphic photos of their injuries to the leg, like arm, head, like
Oh
just really
goodness.
graphic. And I guess they've been collecting the evidence. And
Oh
yeah, that actually made it onto mainstream news. And this case is completely closed. The horrible attack with the chair thing is still ongoing, but it has been sent to the prosecutor as of 2 years ago. But I don't know how long these trials like all of them take. Usually they end up in like 2 or 3 years, according to that attorney.
yeah. I mean, of course,
Yeah.
these take a
Mhm.
long time. So the bottom line is, we know, and you said the word earlier, the dark side of K-pop, which actually the general public seems to know, right? Because these
Right.
stories do
That's
go
the thing.
out. But then what? I mean, again, and you're not here to analyze why is this happening. That would be me going, why is this happening? But my thing is, as more and more people like Omega X actually holding a press conference and
Hmm.
really confirming those allegations of abuse is a big step. Do you believe
Hmm.
more folks, or are you seeing it or hearing maybe in the works more folks coming forward with truth like this?
The thing is, as I said, a lot of them, like there have been cases like this, right? But I'm assuming a lot of them, even watching the news, who might be going through similar things, they might think that if as long as they just stay quiet and take it, they might have a chance at stardom, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's
So I'm not sure how, like, if seeing this will help them come out, because I
right.
think a lot of them have so much to lose when they come out with it, as horrible as that sounds.
And that's
But
what we think.
coincidentally, just a few days after this Omega X thing happened, Chu from Luna got kicked out of the group, right? And she's obviously in a lawsuit about payments, which she partially won so far. And then the bombshell from Isingi happened, like actually it was like right the day after I just wrote the attorney's comment that like lack of payment is just so common in the industry,
Yeah.
like so much more common. And
And Isungi
that was
hit
even
me
before
hard because I'm
Isingi
at
did
East.
anything.
Go ahead. What were we gonna say?
Yeah, like honest, I just wrote that as a general statement from a lawyer, and then like 1 or 2 days later, Isingi just came up with it, like an
Yeah.
extreme
And
case.
I mean, that's probably, and I think I heard because I follow his story pretty closely too.
Hmm.
Just because I, just finished Law Cafe. I mean, I'm a fan of his. We're also fans, right? A lot of us are
Yeah,
fans of all these
I don't think
people.
any Korean's not a fan of Isingi's. Like,
I mean, of
has such
course,
a good
right?
image. Yeah.
But then, you delve deeper and you find out more of how could he not get paid. And my suspicion is also similar to Omega X. Again, this is
Hmm.
speculation, but he probably suspected things. He got more of a confirmation and maybe felt
Hmm.
more of the confidence to speak out. But I
Right.
heard that he also wasn't treated well. And again, that uncomfortableness to here's where we talk about Korean culture and following that authority,
Hmm. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The authority. And to me, like he's a celebrity and obviously very
Hmm.
popular, but I guess that still doesn't necessarily mean much when you're in an agency,
Hmm.
in a
Yeah, and also like
system, right?
gaslighting is real. Like if like
Yeah.
you have hundreds of hits just played every day on the street in like everyday life, and you don't think it's weird that you're not getting paid, right?
Yeah. But
Obviously,
that's the
he
thing. I'm
didn't
going to
think
give him the
he was
benefit of the doubt.
gaslit,
I'm
right?
pretty sure he thought it was weird,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I'm assuming he was like, this doesn't make sense. But again, having that maybe intimidation of
Hmm.
not being able to say, I think I should have gotten paid for the last 20 years, on
Yeah.
my songs. And so, but that to me, so I'm trying to get out the whole thing, my concern of the system in place, that I hope, I don't know,
Hmm.
changes. That's the lack of a better word.
Right.
As this becomes more of, I guess, as more people do speak up.
Hmm.
And you're right, Luna and then Isungi, more and more happening kind of in that cluster after Omega X. I don't think it's
Hmm.
necessarily purely coincidental, but I
Hmm.
also think more will probably come out. So, and that's,
Yeah.
to me, this is a little bit of like a stain on the K-pop industry. Like, who wants to read about
Yeah.
this with K-pop that we love? So you
But I
must
think
have heard about.
also a lot of Koreans, what they forget is this is not just the dark side of the Korean K-pop, and it's more of the K-pop like labor market, right?
Yeah,
Just work environment.
labor, yeah, even
Hmm.
yeah, celebrities of the entertainment, let's just say overall entertainment
Yeah.
agencies and also workforce.
just
right? The
workforce in
workforce.
general, like even in like normal like or just everyday run-of-the-mill offices and factories in Korea, there's plenty of issues about lack of payment, abuse of all sorts, right? And we
Mhm.
see them on the news too. It's really more about the Korean work environment and like work culture, maybe in a broader sense, than to just limit it to the dark side of K-pop. Because I think that also gets a lot of the general Korean public complacent. It's also their problem that they live in this culture.
I love that you shared that.
Hmm.
How and what, if anything, are you seeing, I guess, improving at all by sharing these stories and articles as a journalist? I mean,
Mm.
that's what you want to see happen, right? What are you seeing, if anything, and be honest,
Hmm.
of any change happening coming out of these stories and shedding some light on the darkness of the Korean workforce?
Well, I'm not sure if the general workforce is gonna be influenced by these celebrities, but I think maybe Omega X's decision to show some courage reflects the culture of like the so-called MZ generation. They're much more likely to quit their jobs, right? If they feel like they're not compensated enough, appreciated enough, or treated fairly, right?
You said it well.
And yeah, I think the reason that the members all like 11 of them got together after the incident is in Los Angeles and said, "Oh, we like just came up together and said we've had enough. Let's seek legal help together."
Mhm.
I think their, the culture of their generation also played a role.
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah.
think so.
That
And
empowerment is very important. No, it is for mental
yeah.
health sake, right? So I'm glad. Go ahead. And you
Mhm.
were
Oh
continuing that
yeah.
thought.
And
Yeah.
also maybe just from strictly the entertainment perspective, I think this was kind of an incident where it's like celebrities, it's okay for celebrities to show something dark, right? A lot of the times, in Asia, celebrities, even if they didn't do anything wrong, even if they were the victims,
Mhm.
they didn't want to speak about this or like seek justice because anything that sounded dark was considered like causing controversy,
Yeah.
right? I
Yes.
remember I was a fan of this Japanese singer, and sorry for the graphic language, but her mother got murdered with an axe in the early 2000s.
Right.
Hmm.
Okay.
And
That's
this was
horrific.
considered like her scandal. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
anything dark surrounding you, even if you're the victim, you're like it's a scandal for coming from you.
Sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you know what? I want to say that that's also our culture or Asian
Hmm.
culture. You
Yeah.
want to make sure you're promoting that peace and harmony and not putting shame on your family. I'm saying
Right.
this because this all ties into what we're seeing, right? And
Exactly.
people
Like a
being
lot of
quiet.
the victims blaming themselves, like
Yes.
even
It's a
going
very blame,
through
blame and
very
shame
unhealthy.
culture.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my life's work,
Mhm.
right, Haley? Like trying
Right.
to address that. So any last words as you're, as a journalist and clearly being passionate about what you write about, right? And that's
Hmm.
so important. And you love K-pop. Any last words for the audience just in any of these stories or just what you're covering that you want to share?
So one thing that also looked back on myself on after listening to their lawyer was no, like this was actually a pop music critic.
Hmm.
Um, he told me, this is awful, and when the public hears about it, they say, "Oh, this is unacceptable and it's awful." The thing is, K-pop culture, and this is, I think, it's definitely a reflection of Korean or Asian culture in general. This kind of like inhumane work environment, maybe not getting beaten up, but like being overworked. Like one of the members said they had to practice 17 hours every day with no break, right? Right. And the thing is, when we say, "Oh my gosh," but a lot of the times in Asian culture, when people say that, they're proud. And this is considered
Yeah.
something to be praised, right? Oh, you studied 17 hours a day with no break. That's like great. That they don't say like, "Oh my, your mental health must be a mess," right?
So they still commend that going, oh,
That
China's
kind of
still in
unrealistic
this.
hard work is and it's also praised as part of K-pop culture. You see a lot
Yeah.
of K-pop fans kind of beautifying the trainee days, right? When it's actually a period of extreme practice and uncertainty, right?
And you said it very nicely, I think, but very difficult. Gosh. Okay, so you're saying, obviously we're saying, oh my gosh, but then you're saying in the culture it's still somewhat uplifted and
Right.
saying, oh, good job. Wow, 17 hours. Yeah, you worked hard, right?
Because I think like maybe they were also scared of risking their careers, but I think the
Yeah.
reason that they just accepted those 17-hour practice days for so long is because it's also kind of normalized in our general culture. I
Yeah.
think if it was considered outrageous in our like culture in general, I think the members would have been like 17 hours, that doesn't make sense.
No,
But in
but you're
Korea,
saying
when
that's
high school
normal.
students, yeah, that's normal for high school students
It
to
is.
study 24 hours a day. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
actually like praised, right? I
And
think
here's the
that's
bottom line.
why.
Yes. And the bottom line is, Haley, because I say this, there are beautiful things about our culture, and even the
Hmm.
hard work ethic. I am proud of that. Like I got
Right.
that from my family, and I do work hard. But and in a mental health standpoint, there is only so much our body and our mental health can take, and there is
Hmm.
always about that. Not even balance, because sometimes you can be in
Right.
balance and work hard longer hours. That's
Hmm.
okay, but then make up for it with that
Right.
rest. And that's what worries me with our Korean culture sometimes. That
Right. I mean,
rest is not.
I definitely appreciate you pointing that out because, there's always both sides to it. If this podcast was about productivity, I would praise Korean culture and maybe complain about how slow Western culture is, right? It would
Sure.
be the
Yeah.
opposite. But this is about mental health and just
Yeah.
finding that line to not tolerate abuse.
That's right. That's right. There is a line of abuse, and sometimes it's clearer than others, right? I make that clear because people are like, people have asked me a key question: when does this become abuse? And I really
Hmm.
believe there is a clear definition of abuse, and sometimes the law can be unfortunate, not covering all of that or protecting everyone. But the bottom line is, if you feel it's
Hmm.
crossed the line and you have that distress, and your sense is, this is abuse to me of what's happening. I always go with
Hmm.
what the person first thinks. That's where the
Right.
Noonchi is. You got to know yourself going, this
Hmm.
isn't right. And this feels uncomfortable. And you said something very key earlier, Haley, that not nobody, sorry. People tend not to speak up because they do want to debut. They do want to
Hmm.
be proud of their work. And that's where I feel like, the sensitivity is, because I believe that they can succeed, but I do believe they don't have to they can succeed without that abuse. Right. And that's the
That's,
hope of the
yeah.
change. There is the change
Hmm.
but again, yeah, I'm going to bring that up. No, Korean culture is beautiful. That's why people love it. But again, that work and the overwork is serious. It is a serious
Hmm.
issue. You see people collapse because of work,
Yeah.
and or physically
Hmm.
collapse. And I hear
Right.
that a lot. Isn't there a term for that word?
Kwarosa. It's
Yeah.
karoshi in Japanese, literally overworked to death in
Yeah. And
uh
Guarosa,
Chinese characters, right?
right. But that's a word. Can you believe that there's a word from that?
Yeah,
For
that's the
this?
word. And I also think it kind of like spread into the West through hustle culture,
Right.
which kind of like has
Good
the same
point.
message.
Yeah, same message, right? And same message.
Hmm.
And hey, I say clearly, just because I'm like a mental health expert doesn't mean I'm human. I'm not human. The
Yeah.
very first thing is I'm human, and I also hustle, right? But
Hmm.
then I know I see my body collapsing, or I see myself not doing well emotionally. That's when I know I got to step back, right?
Yeah.
So anybody hearing this, I just hope, thank you so much, Haley, for your insight and just doing what you're doing. And please continue. We hope that we can empower you to highlight the beauty of K culture, K content, K-pop, K dramas, all of that. So thanks for that hard work. Appreciate you being here.
Would
Thanks, folks,
love
for
to do
listening.
that.